What are essential companions for coffee enemas? What's up, guys? So, Coffee Talk, Part 6, Coffee Enemas. I never really would have thought I'd have a 6-part series on coffee enemas. I was never really into colon cleanses or coffee enemas or anything in my butt for that matter. But, times change, and to reach my health goals, I find that it was necessary. To help other people reach their health goals, I found it was necessary. So some of the things in this I'm going to talk about is how to really properly care for your body, how to maintain your body during this time, and things I've learned, things I've done, and ultimately parasites, right? Because if you've been following this at all, you really figured out that coffee enemas really helped me not only clean my colon and purge liver stones, gallstones, which I didn't even know I had, which I had zero problems with, but also it helped me to figure out that I've got a lot of parasites that I needed to get rid of and to get into control. So I guess the first thing I want to talk about is when to start or when to implement new anti-parasitic and cleanses and things of that nature. So you got to go by the phases of the moon. A lot of farmers know this to be a fact, that if you want to succeed in growing, planting, harvesting, and, overall, whatever it may be with your livestock, if it's cutting off their horns, if it's, anything to do with cutting blood, or whether it's like castrating your animals, then you need to go by the moon, because it affects our life cycles in every varying degree. And if you don't believe it, then you probably don't have much experience with overall farming. But if you talk to some old farmers, you would definitely know that. So the Kelker protocol is a ton of different things you could implement, and some of those I have implemented and some of those I've yet to implement. MMS is one of those, Miracle Mineral Solution. I will probably look into getting that sometime in the future. But anyways, I bring up the Kelker protocol because he says the best time to implement new strategies is 3 days before the full moon. And I think any time around the full moon is probably best, 3 days before, the day of, whatever, simply because that is the time period when parasites are more active and they're more likely to procreate themselves and they're more likely to spawn. And so if you catch them right then and there at the 3 days before the full moon, then that's probably the moment when they would start being more active. So it gives you the edge. And I really just recently learned that, never really understood why the full moon made such a big difference. But it's not hokey, it's not hocus pocus, it's not magic. It's just life cycles and the way we interact with the world around us and how the moon affects us, basically. So this past full moon, I actually introduced bromelain. I supplemented bromelain, which is a proteolytic enzyme that eats proteins anywhere in your digestive tract. That means the biofilm that a lot of these parasites protect themselves with, the bromelain can really eat it up. Bromelain comes from pineapple, and if you ever notice that when you bite into a pineapple and it's super tart, then it like really draws so much saliva from your mouth, that's because bromelain is one of the only things that is actually eating you while you eat it, because it is such a strong enzyme that it is eating your proteins alive in your mouth while you are eating it. I mean, I guess there's other things out there that could eat you while you eat it, like if you eat live octopus, which some of those videos on YouTube are kind of crazy if you wanted to check that out. Man eats live octopus, whatever. Anyways, so some of the things that I've learned about supplementing during this time period is you got to take care of your whole body, because health is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and parasite detoxing, parasite cleansing is also a marathon, not a sprint. You can't just slash and thrash and expect to completely alleviate your problems with these parasites quickly. But overall, I've found that consistency is quite important. I've read about people saying that you should do 1 week on, 2 weeks off, or 2 weeks on, 1 week off. And I haven't really done that in the 10 months because some of these parasites, they can procreate at exponential rates once they realize that their numbers are thinning and you've caught on to them. So I've heard that some of these parasites, agaricis, I don't know how you say it, roundworm basically, could multiply and lay eggs of 60,000 in one day. So that's why it's so important to make sure you're doing things like clove to reduce the overall eggs. And there's other things out there that actually can kill eggs, and colloidal silver creams. I've found those to be very good topically. MSM could coat your digestive tract to help make sure these things can't adhere to your intestinal wall because it's believed that they bind to the receptors. But anyways, other supplementing things that I've done that I do, I find it's very important to take B vitamins, simply because B vitamins are crucial to overall mental health and vitality. And as you are doing colon cleanses and things of that nature, you're losing your B vitamins, you're losing some of those beneficial flora that can create B vitamins for you internally. The other thing is, I noticed that I got paler during this time of doing coffee enemas and finding ways to get more iron. For me personally, I guess eggs have been the largest way that I've replaced my iron. I've never actually bought an iron supplement, but it probably would be a good idea. The FloraVital or FloraDix, I've always heard, is the best, most gentle iron on people's stomachs. And probably just take those as directed on the box, basically. And so let's see, B vitamins, iron. I've always taken niacin with the B vitamins because that can help flush and detox your system. Taking additional enzymes of almost any type could also help as well. There's an individual who I know is going to listen to this that just messaged me the other day about having sore spots in their stomach. And to some extent, that could mean that I was either passing gallstones, liver stones, having die-off, or it could just mean my stomach was tender because of all the very alkalizing things that I had been doing. And in this case, like if it was ACV or if it was lemons or limes that I'd been doing enemas with. And in that case, it is always good to take care of your intestinal tract in ways that will coat it and protect it. And you could do coconut oil as one of those. I've done coconut oil, I've done aloe, and take them from the top or the bottom. Either one of those can help soothe your digestive tract if they are overall not soothed, right? So working in those types of things can be very important because you don't just want to walk around feeling raw in your gut all the time. And binders, I guess I've talked about that before. I've always taken diatomaceous earth as a binder, which can adhere to anything breaking down in my digestive tract and help clear it. And along with activated charcoal, those are going to be my favorite binders. To a lesser extent, people have done greens. I've done greens. I've done Warrior Food, green mineral greens, ocean greens. There's several different ones from Warrior. And those can bind to things in my digestive tract, but they can also help remineralize my body. And mineralization during this time period is also good because you could lose a lot of your minerals while you're doing enemas as well. So I use a concentrate, trace minerals. And it may be better to find a plant-based mineral, but I've always used the concentrates. I like it because I've definitely noticed that sometimes when I double dose the concentrates, then I have had overall better mental clarity, better focus, and better overall ability to communicate exactly what I was thinking. So for those reasons, I choose concentrates, and I still to this day, even though some people say that it comes from a contaminated Utah riverbed or something like that, or ancient seabed that is higher in aluminum than it should be. Now, I understand all the arguments against aluminum. I'm totally against supplementing aluminum. I just made a video about a pain relief product that has aluminum in it that should not, basically. And yeah, aluminum's bad because it can go straight to your brain and can be difficult to detox. And the thing is, while there may be some risk, the trace minerals are so important to the rest of your body: the potassium, the magnesium, zinc. I take zinc quite often because zinc is a mineral that's supposed to boost your immune system health and overall help to rid you of parasites naturally through the power of, it's supposed to just boost your immune system and increase white blood cell count and stuff like that. So one of the safest things I've also been doing to supplement is garlic. I've been taking about 3 grams of garlic. There was a Dr. Oz video I watched recently that talked about garlic and other ways that you can attack parasites and remove parasites. And I think they talked about main ones was like garlic, zinc, curcumin or turmeric, and cayenne or capsaicin. So all of those I am in agreement on. To some extent, those I think would be pretty safe to take on a pretty consistent basis. The only thing you might want to watch out for is, a little bit of acid reflux, because garlic and spicy things may affect you that way. And even if you go bottoms up, I've experienced that before. I've done garlic enemas where you take 1 or 2 cloves, depending on the size, maybe 1 large clove, and blend it into a quart of water and strain it. You could even let it, blend and then soak overnight, and then use that as an enema. And that I noticed right away went straight up to burp. I'd burp up the garlic even though it was at the bottom of my digestive system. And that's very difficult if you live with someone or you have a loved one, because they will tell you that you smell and stink like garlic, because it happens so quickly, so fast. And you should probably, it's less smelly garlic if you consume it in a capsule form, but not completely. Because the bottom line is garlic is still garlic. You could get high allicin garlic that will boost your immune system. I prefer the whole food version or the whole food supplement version, but there is less smell type. There's a black fermented garlic out there, which you could have varying results with each one of these. So I've always been someone to encourage people to try out and work out what works best for them. I'm not a dogmatic individual who says there's only one way, because there's just not. There's so many different ways to health. Anyways, talking about minerals. Minerals are really important for a lot of reasons, because of focus, bone density, and if you're doing enemas in this nature, you could be reducing those things rather quickly. So you want to make sure you're replacing your sodium intake, your mineral intake. Yeah. So those are some of the things that I've done. I've really noticed a difference with. I highly suggest working in regular aloe enemas, because those are probably the most soothing for your digestive tract. At least they were for mine. I noticed nothing else that was as soothing as aloe. It was like I woke up and I had my entire body covered in fuzz or a sweater. Like my hands felt like a sweater in such a good way. Yeah, I'm just thinking about that right now. The ace mannan content, I believe, is what really is soothing in aloe. And I've actually cut fresh aloe off my aloe plant and completely blended that. Some people, you could cut off the greens and you could drink it. The skin, I mean. Because the skin is notoriously bitter. It's actually why it could be beneficial for removing parasites as well, and overall stimulating your digestive system, because the bitters in it is actually so good for you. Just to finally lay this out there for essential things to replace while doing coffee enemas, in my opinion, it would be B vitamins, minerals, and iron, basically. I still would want to have a lot of those things on hand that I've talked about in this video, simply because it can really help you feel better, such as the binders like charcoal and diatomaceous earth, the binders. Yeah, I mean, if it was bare minimum, I would have to include the aloe too. I'm really just trying to think about a calculated choice for the most essentials. And to some extent, Yeah, B vitamins, minerals, and iron would be the top for me to choose, I think. I like a good B complex. And then, because honestly, for binders, you may not need binders if you just continually do a water flush. And if you have the ability to do a water flush at least, 12 to 24 hours after doing a coffee enema. Additionally, I have noticed that when I've done baking soda enemas, if it's just like 1 tablespoon to 2 quarts, I think that's the normal way that I've done it. That I've also noticed I've flushed tons of biofilm, and that seems to be very effective. Um, I've always been wary of doing the baking soda one because a lot of the times people say that could get them gassy, bloated, but I haven't actually experienced that myself. So I guess I've been just fine doing those, and they've been very effective. Lemon juice, lemon extract, those have been very effective, but it's probably best to follow up with an aloe enema for the soothing qualities because some of these are not very soothing, like I was saying before. Serapeptase has been a crucial supplement that I've taken for a long while now to also reduce the amount of mucus that's in my system so that it's not replenishing the biofilm on these parasites and hopefully to expedite their expulsion, eviction, however you want to say it. So, yeah, I mean, I have had access to a ton of different supplements and to some extent am very blessed for having good access to these things. I vary it up with the vitamins that I take. I don't always take a lot of vitamins besides B complex, at least, because I don't want to give these things directly to the parasites. So to some extent, I lay off of certain vitamins and I only try and take vitamins that I've known have been anti-parasitic. Using essential oils to some extent as well has really benefited me. I just read that bergamot could be very anti-parasitic, so I've been rubbing coconut and bergamot on my stomach. And as I've mentioned before, I've rubbed coconut all over my entire body as much as possible. Not like extremely thick, but in extremely thin coatings because then it's easier for my body to absorb it. And that's supposed to be very anti-parasitic as well. Yeah, I mean, I've drank castor oil, and I'm so fat adapted that actually doesn't make me have bowel movements. And speaking of bowel movements, I guess I would also say you could take an herbal laxative. For me personally, I would either choose aloe or senna. Those would be some of my favorite aloe laxatives because they're quite gentle and they work. They're effective. So overall, I don't think you should really worry about being constipated. There's a lot of people out there who just consistently rely on doing enemas for bowel movements, and to some extent, it's healthier to regulate your bowels by yourself. And coffee enemas, I've heard of people doing them every day for multiple years, and I guess the royal family, Prince Charles and even Princess Diana, were huge advocates for coffee enemas. So, yeah, for me personally, it doesn't bother me if I'm not having a bowel movement as consistently after doing an enema because it's like, obviously, I just evacuated my bowels, so there's not actually a ton in there. I mean, it does get complicated because I know I'm dealing with a large parasite that actually is controlling my bowel movements to some extent, and I'll just be happy. I know the best is yet to come when I get rid of this thing. And so many people talk about feeling lifted after they've eradicated some of these things. And I can definitely attest to that. My wife says, you're like a totally different person because I was so burdened by all these parasites and I was tired and fatigued and pretty low mood. And now it's like I have a reason to dance. I have a reason to love. I have a reason to talk to people. And it's just given me so much life that I never knew I had before. So anyways, guys, yeah, like I was saying, stay healthy. Thank you so much for watching, and like, share, subscribe. I'll do a video review of myself at 100K. And honestly, I'm friggin' getting ripped doing a low carb, high fat diet, and I don't even exercise. I mean, maybe I'll lift up some of my kids, throw them around, play with them, here and there. Maybe at work I'll be lifting boxes, stuff like that. But overall, yeah, I mean, I'm not exercising, and my wife's looking at me like, okay, this is a good weight for you. All right, you're looking good. And she also talks about it like she sees some of the definition in my muscles here and there, and she's all like, okay, that's my man. All right, I like it. So anyways, yeah, guys, like, share, subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Stay healthy.